So, lesson 2.3, we are solving inequalities with multiplication or division. So we just did adding or subtracting, now we're looking at multiplying or dividing. So example A, we have x over 8 or divided by 8 is greater than negative 5. So we're solving for x, so to get rid of that 8, we would multiply both sides by 8 like they do here. It cancels, and you have x is greater than negative 40. And then I know y'all know how to graph it on a number line. B, we have negative 24 is greater than or equal to 3x. So we want x by itself, and since it's being multiplied, you do the opposite and divide both sides by 3. It cancels, and you have negative 8 is greater than or equal to x, and you graph it on the number line. Don't forget, when it's on this side, to just plug numbers in to make sure you have it going the right way. I want you to do 1, 2, and 3. I'll just underline it. It's a little easier. Don't worry about 4. Just try 1, 2, and 3. Pause the video, and then I will work them out for you. On 1, we have n over 7 is greater than or equal to negative 1. So to get n by itself, we have to get rid of this 7. It's being divided, so we would multiply both sides of the equation by 7. It cancels there. Negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. Then when we graph that, it would be a closed circle since it's or equal to, and n is greater than or equal to, so it goes to the right. On 2, negative 6.4 is greater than or equal to 1/5 w. This is 1/5 times w, so to get rid of it, we would divide by 1/5, but if you remember, we can't divide a fraction by a fraction, so we flip it and multiply. 5 over 1 is really just 5. So I'm multiplying both sides by 5. Just realized I don't have my calculator. Hold on one second. Okay, 5 times negative 6.4. Negative 32. It is a closed circle again. And negative 32 is greater than or equal to w, so that means w is smaller. So it goes to the left. Okay, on 3, 4b is greater than or equal to 36. So to solve for b, we have to divide both sides by 4 to split that apart. 36 divided by 4 is 9. It's a closed circle again, and b is greater than. Okay, example 2. On A and B. So these are where you've seen this before, you've just forgotten, where when we have negatives, they make you have to flip your inequality sign. So on A, I have 2 is less than y divided by negative 3. So to solve for y, we do the opposite and multiply by negative 3 on both sides. When you do that, you have to flip your inequality sign. So it went from less than to now greater than. So we have negative 6 is greater than y, and then you graph your solution. It's an open circle, and y is less than that, so it's getting smaller. The reason we have to flip the inequality sign is when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, it oftentimes cancels out. As far as a negative and negative cancel and make a positive, and it kind of makes this untrue for if you were to go back to the original problem and plug a number in. So we have to flip it around so that it still is true for when you go back and plug it in. I know that sounds weird, but that's kind of where the idea of that came from. So if we look at B, we have negative 7y is less than or equal to negative 35. So we have to divide both sides by negative 7, and it cancels. We flip our inequality sign, and we are left with y is greater than or equal to 5. And then we come over here and graph it on a number line. It's greater than or equal to, so it is a closed circle because it just means 5 is also included in that. So what I want you to do is pause the video, and I only want you to try 5, 7, and 9. We'll just do the odds. I'm not going to make you do all 6 of those. Just do 5, 7, and 9, and then I'll go over them with you. Okay, on the second part, number 5, we're doing 5, 7, 9. On 5, we have p divided by negative 4 is less than 7. So to get rid of that negative 4, we're going to multiply both sides by negative 4. Since we are multiplying by a negative, our sign flips. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. It is an open circle, and P is now greater, so it is going to the right. Okay, on 7, we have negative 1 over 10 times z, so to get rid of that we would divide, but we can't divide a fraction by a fraction, so we flip it and multiply. Negative 10 over 1 is the same thing as just negative 10. So I have negative 10, that sign flips. Now on this side I just have z. The reason they flip is the only way it can make sense when you plug numbers back in is if that sign were to change with negatives. So we have to flip it. So it is a closed circle. Negative 10 is less than or equal to z. How you check? Plug numbers in. I just realized that should be negative 11. My bad, guys. Is negative 10 less than or equal to negative 11? No, it is bigger. Is negative 10 less than or equal to negative 9? Yes, that is true. So it goes this way. Remember, that's how you can check yourself. Plug numbers in from either side. On number 9, we have negative 2r is greater than or equal to negative 22. So this is being multiplied, so we divide both sides by negative 2. Since we divided by a negative, our sign flips around. 2 negatives make a positive. 22 divided by 2 is 11. It is a closed circle, and r is less than or equal to. So it goes to the left. Okay, so example 3, we've got a word problem, or a real life problem. So it says you earn $9.50 per hour at your summer job. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of hours that you need to work to buy a digital camera that costs $247. Okay, so we're going to be writing an inequality. So we know that it costs $247 and that we make $9.50 per hour. So looking at the cost, that to me is the main thing. So we know if we're trying to buy a camera, we have to have at least this much. We can't pay for something if we don't have enough money. If we have more than enough money, we know we can pay for it. So that means we need to have at least this much. So 247. So we could have exactly 247, which means it's going to be an or equal to. Sorry, I know that 7 looks weird. Okay, so it could be equal to that, or we could have more than that, but we have to have at least that much. So whatever we have is going to have to be greater than or equal to 247, the cost of the camera. So then for the other side, we make $9.50 per hour. So that should let us know, say, for example, you worked 5 hours. Well, you would do 9.5 times 5. So it's going to be $9.50 times some number. I'll use H for hours. I think they used N for number of hours. So we have 9.5H is greater than or equal to 247. That right here is your inequality. Then we have to solve it. So we would divide by 9.5 from both sides, and you get the N is greater than or equal to 26. So that just means you would need to work at least 26 hours, so more or equal to 26 hours, for the amount of money you made to be at least $247. Okay, last one, number 11. It says you have at most $3.65 to make copies. Each copy costs 25 cents. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of copies that you can make. So if we go back and break down each part, so we have you have at most $3.65. So we know we have $3.65. We just have to figure out what inequality sign goes beside it. At most. So that means you could spend $3.65. Could you spend more than that if that's the most that you have? No. So you could only spend less than that. So up to $3.65. So we have $3.65. Actually, let me move it over a bit. $3.65 is the most that you can spend. Okay? Or we could put you have to spend less than or equal to $3.65. So when you're setting up your inequality, whichever way of this is easier for you is fine. Okay? So then it says each copy costs 25 cents. write an inequality to represent the number of copies that you can make. Well, if each copy is 25 cents, say you wanted to make 6 copies, how would you solve that? Okay, you would have to do 6 times 25 cents. So whatever number of copies you're making, we're going to be multiplying by 25 cents. So we have 0.25, I'll say C for copies. So either way, these are both correct, whichever way you wrote it. So then it says, now solve. So to solve this, I have to divide both sides by 0.25. And our final answer comes out to $14.60.